Good afternoon, and here we are again with another EEAP webinar. I'm Rick Roman with
Michael Crowley.
And you might notice we have a little bit of a different background today. Michael, why don't you tell the folks what's going on
Well,
here?
we do have a bit of a background where we have a fireplace behind us. It's definitely different. EEAP, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. EEAP has opened up a second office. We have a second corporate office now out in the southern Utah territory. EEAP is making some advances, and we're expanding some things. So we do have a second office out in the Cedar City, Utah area. And so if you have any companies or locations in the Salt Lake City, St. George, southwest of Utah, obviously Las Vegas, Nevada, we do quarterly too. We would love to service those for you. But all webinars will be broadcast out of Utah going forward. Obviously, we are California-based. We have the offices in California still. All my people work there too. But for some billing issues and also some growth issues, we've taken an opportunity to expand to Utah a little bit. So we're very excited about that. I come down on a monthly basis to make sure everything's good to go. So if you need us, Sam, the general manager, is still down there in California. All our people are still down there. It's really just an expansion. So if you see a billing, as you have seen with Utah, just know that's what it is.
And so this right now is our temporary home. We're actually going to be building a webinar studio so that we can actually do some live training for you too here coming down the road. And until we get that all set up, this will be where we'll be doing our webinars from.
It sounds extremely fancy, Rick, to call it a webinar studio, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a webinar studio so we can do more of these, and also what we're going to do is do some live training for some clients that are up in Northern California, different across the country, some more needs like that. So just know that's the kind of changes that we're doing on that end of it, and we're just excited to be here. So we're grateful. Rick, are we ready to move on, sir?
We are ready to get started, Michael.
Here we go.
Today we are talking about earthquake preparedness.
You know what? You can never talk about it enough, Rick.
Well, we don't have them that often, at least not very significant ones, and it's a type of thing that kind of slip away from the forefront of our mind, and it's a good idea to talk about it once in a while so we can take precautions and make sure that we're prepared in the event when it finally comes.
No doubt, Rick, no doubt. The most of the earthquake training I've seen is right after the earthquake takes place, and everybody feels like they need to do it because they forgot about it. So we thought we'd get ahead of the ball.
Exactly.
All right, here we go, Rick.
So
we're going to be giving away a Green Mountain Grill smoker today, Rick. Again, we've made the commitment to do this during every webinar, so hopefully there are some out there that are really excited about this, Pip. This little Davy Crockett is the greatest thing in the world. We just love it to death.
It is, and so stay tuned here, and at the end of the webinar, we'll be asking a question, and whoever calls us up with that correct answer will be the lucky recipient of a Green Mountain Grill smoker.
Now remember, at greenmountaingrill.com, that is a website of the manufacturer of these beautiful smokers that we're dealers of. This great smoker you will find that have recipes, videos, and everything like that, so you can take a look at that.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. So a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about here. We are talking about having a written plan.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a written plan. Communicating that plan with the employees.
Yep.
Drill, baby, drill. Being prepared and taking precautions.
Can't worry about that, Rick. You got to take the precautions. All right, here we go. Have a written plan.
Having a written plan. So Cal OSHA requires that every company have a emergency action plan.
Yep.
So that emergency action plan is basically an outline of the procedures that you will take as precautions and routines for dealing in the event of not only an earthquake but other emergency situations that could occur. So in this plan, it's going to talk about your communication and alarm systems, the personnel that's that's designated to authorize an evacuation, the procedures and the escape routes and the assignments there. Also any emergency shutdown procedures that you might have if you're able to shut down certain equipment, procedures for accounting for the employees, training any employees in first aid and rescue and medical duties, and also training all of your employees to be familiar with this emergency action plan, and of course the names of the people where they can get more information.
Now, the emergency action plans that you guys have, if you're clients of ours, because most of you are, the clients of what we've got going here can see that we've created for you already an emergency action plan. We've met all those principles as it goes through. Your job is to make sure that those are up to date. When we come out on a quarterly basis to do that inspection, a part of what we do is making sure that everything's in order and everything's hit. But sometimes those little individual jobs can get messed up. So you want to make sure that you're up to date on your emergency action plan. If you have any questions, you're going to call us in the office and we'll go over that for you and detail that out for you. But this is a good time to really look at the emergency action plan you have and get an overview of what it is. But the plans that we've written for you, I want to make sure hit all those points before we continue.
It hits the points, and you just, if you make changes with personnel and things like that, you just let us know and we'll make the changes, and it'll be right there in your client center.
Our teams can do it.
All right, on top of it.
Here we go, Rick. Communicating the plan with your wonderful, beautiful employees.
So yes, you got to communicate that plan with the employees. So when, Michael, is a good time to be training your employees, not only just on the emergency action plan, but all of the safety measures, really, that you need to be training your people?
You got to be training them when they first come on. Obviously, number one here is employees is hired. When an employee comes on, you have to train them on where the routes are, emergency action, when it comes to where the meeting spots. This could be a big problem for you on that note. So when they first get hired, you want to do that. The second one is when there's changes made. Number two is changes made. Now, when you do the changes made, these are changes like management gets switched out, maybe somebody gets trained in CPR, you're letting other people know. There's just a lot of things that will take place in this changing that'll make it. All right, Rick, number three.
And then also the refreshers. You just got to be doing it ongoing, just periodic refreshers.
Number three, employee responsibility changes. Obviously, that's a given, Rick. You got to do it when employee responsibilities changes, and like you said, the refreshers of the trainings and stuff like that. So I like to see an emergency action plan training or earthquake or whatever it is. I like to see it done at least once a year. At least once a year. If you're not doing it at least once a year, I don't know how you could ever keep up to date with all the employees that have the potential to be switched out to do it. So just know once a year, I think that'll work just fine.
Okay.
All right, Rick, so we're going to communicating the plan with the employees.
So we want to get more into the specifics of communicating that plan. So the first thing, Michael, is communicating the alarm system. So what's entailed in that, telling the employees on this?
Well, you've seen a couple pictures here that we put out, the alarm system. One is the megaphone, the wonderful girl there that's blowing the megaphone, and then the other one is just a wall-mounted microphone and then a light. So you could do any of those three. You can even do yelling your guts out, I guess, in the back shop. It would be less effective. I think at the very least, buying an air horn of something and teaching the employees when they hear this is the evacuation noise, could be a better choice for you. But you've got to have an alarm system that allows the employees to know they've got to get out of Dodge. They got to get out of the facility. So you must teach them to be able to do that. Who is authorized to order the evacuation and shut it down?
So you got to, that's what you're wanting to train the employees on. That person may change, right, Michael? So you got to let your folks know who's the person and the shutdown. Just because you're evacuating, you may not have the opportunity to shut down.
We don't want every Yahoo in the back shop having the authorization to shut things down, and this can be problematic for you. So you need somebody on campus, 1 to 2 people, maybe 3, depending on how big your facility is, to be able to let you know when is the time where it's we're just getting the heck out of here. There's nothing else we can do. It may be obvious in some conditions, and it may not be in others.
So the next point is you need to train them on who the responsible people are.
Who are they? You got to name them and point them out and make sure they're clear on who they are. Now, in our shop, I've only got about 35, 40 employees, and so as we fluctuate, it's not hard for us to have that. But in a big warehouse where things are changing a lot, or a job site or a construction, we want to make sure that's clear. So you may have a picture of the person. This is the responsible person, maybe on a job site or whatnot. That may seem too far in some areas, but depending on your environment and where you're at your facilities, that may not be.
And when we're talking to when the responsible people is they need to know who are the people that are trained with CPR or first aid, so they know if they need the help themselves, or they may be aware of another employee that is in need of some assistance. So they know, all the employees know who to go to, who's doing the counting, and the next thing is you want your employees to know where the safe zones are, Michael.
Let me tell you what a safe zone is. Obviously, it's a zone that you're not going to die or get hurt. It's a safe zone. I mean, obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory. You got to make sure you're thinking of everything. If you're having a hard time in your facility finding a safe zone, let us, when we come out and do our quarterly inspections, we can give you some thoughts and things to think about. You want to make sure you're not next to shelving. You want to make sure you're not next to the chemicals and stuff that could leak. but you got to really think about the emergencies that may take place. Now, you may have a lion walk in and eat half your employees. Now, the chances are highly unlikely, I get that. But you want to go to the more likely of them. This is why in this kind of a talk, we're talking about earthquake safety. Focus on that little one for a second and just know that in an earthquake, where are the safe zones? It may not be in front of the building, because in the event of an earthquake, you may have debris off the building fall. It may not be in the warehouse. So you really got to think about what works for you in the specific spot. You may have to pick the best between two evils. I don't know. It depends on what kind of environment you're in, but you got to find a safe zone.
And especially where it relates to the earthquake, the safe, you're in a fire, you're getting out of there as soon as it's happening. But in an earthquake, you're probably not evacuating while the shaking's going on.
Theoretically, no.
So you probably need to know some areas around where you're working, where you can get shelter and then you evacuate and know where you're going to in your meet spots.
Totally.
So, which leads us to the next part is they got to know the evacuation procedures, the escape routes, where they're going to meet out in the lot or wherever that's going to be, and who to report to, who the responsible person again is for taking the head count.
Most of the people, when we talk about emergency action plan, the thing they think about the most is the evacuation map that is supposed to be put at most of the exits where the employees go to teach them. This is the thing that most people think about. You guys should be creating your own maps. It's just too much work to allow somebody else to take responsibility for this. I would not make this map with every little detail in the building on there. I would not. The map must contain meeting spots or safe spots, how to get out of the building, and those basic things. It does not require to put a bunch of fire extinguishers, first aid kits, other things. I think those are good ideas, but just stick with the basics if you have nothing at this point. But you should be able to create some sort of emergency action map and be able to review that with them. So when we do the lesson in your facilities or you're doing it with your employees, you say, where's the meeting spot? They should be able to tell you right off the top of their head, back west side of the building, south side of the building, whichever.
Exactly. So go ahead and advance the slide, Michael.
All right.
And we will move on to there.
Communicating the plan with the responsibility of employees.
The responsible employees. So the responsible employees also need training on their specific duties. So we talk again about the person with the shutdown procedures. Obviously, you need to train him exactly what he needs to do if given the command. What he has to do.
If he's given the command to get the heck out of Dodge and shut that down, we need to have the talk about what could be an emergency shutdown procedure. Well, I got to tell you, I have no idea necessarily, depending on the facility. You're going to see the pictures on the right side of the screen. There's a gentleman with some pipings and a suit with some goggles and a headgear on. There could be something in that kind of a facility that needs to be shut down first. If it's a basic office building, I can't imagine what you need to shut down to risk your life. Even if it's the server. We have server with some of our most important information. And let me tell you, we have backups off-site, so that is not a problem we have to risk wonderful Rick's life to go back and to save it. He would die. We would miss him. But is he worth the information on that? Every day is a debate if he's worth it. But the logic of it is this. We need to make sure that those shutdown procedures are absolutely necessary and they're worth the risk of it, and can they be done. And even if you have a plan put in place that we're going to do these shutdown procedures, you need to train the person on how to make the call when it's not worth their life.
Exactly.
What is happening that makes it not worth those things?
And then as we talk about the rescue and medical duties, you look at the picture here on the left, you may have somebody who's got an impairment that isn't going to be able to evacuate, and therefore a responsible person that is assigned to help to evacuate that person. So obviously there needs to be training to take place. Maybe he's off work on a given day. Is there a backup in place so that you have somebody that can do those duties, medical duties? If you need to have your people either CPR trained if you have one, and you may not, but if you have somebody, then you got to make sure that they're being trained, and the first aid, and then of course someone's got to be trained to know who the emergency contacts are and who they got to get a hold of in such a situation.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree with you. Emergency contacts, you want to have emergency contacts of who you're calling. When we say that, we're talking about fire department and stuff, not the emergency contacts to the employees. The employees themselves have their own contacts, but you're not going through employee files to get the emergency contacts before you leave. But you want to make sure you have the emergency contacts ready to go. Fire department, the local police department, department. It could be just basic 911, but things that you need to do if it's a hazmat team to notify the people depending on the chemicals that you have.
And even within your own company, you may need to notify a corporate office or things like that. So somebody just needs to have those numbers.
All right, here we go. Drill, baby, drill. The drilling procedures that you have are vitally important. You must do a drill, not because there is a Kalisha code that says you have to drill, but because if you don't drill, you'll never know for sure that they understand where to go and how to meet. This is a violently important thing to do. Drill. I'm not saying you have to do a drill every month. Once a year to me sounds reasonable. And you know what? Depending on how big your facility is, like in this picture, of a lot of people, that's a lot of people to drill with. But them being able to just go to one area, I know is time and money, but just doing it once is very important for you. And then as employees follow through, I think once a year is fine. Now, can we help you with the drill? We would love to help you with the drill. This is my recommendation. The drilling procedure will take some time. If you want us to help you with the drill, we would probably do it in the time that we were going to do your inspection as replacement of an inspection if you wanted to. But I really believe you can do these drills on your own. When our service reps do come out there for that quarterly inspection, talk to them about a drill if you'd like to do and get an idea of where safe zones are and let them go through with you. But I do think that you can do that on your own so that we can do those inspections and you can just perform the drill and see how that goes. I really believe that you should be doing a drill. Now, right now we've got this sweet lady hidden under a desk waiting to go. Talk about that with them. Where are you going to go to get safe within an earthquake? There's shaking going on. Do you have to leave that area, or is this an area that you're better off getting under a desk? Depending on where you're at in the warehouse office space, this could go back and forth, and you just never know.
Exactly, and it depends on each place. So again, now we talk a little bit about here getting prepared or being prepared. There's a lot of things you can do, and some of these things may not work for everybody. It depends on your circumstance, how many employees you have, but there's just a lot of things that you consider that people may not be able to get to their homes. You may have a situation where the roads are closed, and maybe you might have people staying overnight at your facility, and if you're able to provide some of these accommodations, that it could be helpful. Michael, if you'll go over some of these pictures here. And
the cots may look ridiculous. I know that you look at it and go, listen, we've got 20 girls in the office, we're not putting cots out here for them. I get the cots are probably ridiculous. Let's not think about the cots necessarily. But think about in the event of a bad earthquake, freeways are knocked down, there is no power, maybe the lights are out, and the thought of sending your sweet office personnel home that night may be something that is not a good idea. Maybe there's a cell tower that was still active that they were calling their people, and they realized, you know, it's not safe to go home that evening because it happened late. Allowing them to spend the night there may be the choice that works. Having maybe one supply of food for the day or something there is not a bad idea to me. Some water storage is not a bad idea to me. I always keep some water storage in there, and a lot of these emergency food supplies are terrible. The one that you see on the screen is more of a big meal kind of thing. It may be that you just have some energy bars. A lot of these things will store for 15, 20 years, and they're very, very reasonable when it comes to providing them with something that can be some sort of nutrition. You obviously will have bathrooms going on, and maybe you don't do blankets and cots and all that jazz. But the reality is we have water here, fresh water, in either in a 55-gallon barrel or we've got cases of water in the back. But something so that if your employees need to spend the night, I do think it's a reasonable thought. After growing up in California and going through the Northridge earthquake and everything, my parents lived in Sylmar, California when the 71 Sylmar earthquake took place. And I'm telling you, it's not far-fetched to believe that your people may at some point spend the night at the building because the roads are just thrashed. I'm telling you, that is not unreasonable. Generators and all that stuff are good ideas, but just get some basics down on what you guys think you can do and afford. I mean, don't go crazy, but...
Right. And it depends on everyone's separate circumstance. You know, these are just really ideas of things that you can consider. You know, bring it to your mind, depending on your circumstance, what you may or may not be able to do.
You know, another thing, Rick, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, you know, my parents, they always have a case of water in their trunk, but I know my brother, who travels down to Woodland Hills a lot, will carry some sort of 72-hour pack in the back of his car. Now, that does seem extreme for some people, but you may keep like that as an employee, something in your trunk, so that if you do have to stay at the office, you have your own stuff there. I'm all about making sure I can take care of myself, and so that is something to consider when you come to that. Not relying on the company, but having something in the trunk of your car that you switch out every once in a while.
That is a great point, because you might not be at work when you need it, for that matter.
I'd agree. All right, here we go, Rick.
Okay.
Taking precautions.
So here's some precautions. You know, some of these things are actually Cal OSHA code anyway, and you need to make sure that these things are secured in certain ways. The first picture up there on the top left looks to be some sort of drill press or something, and Cal OSHA code says it's got to be mounted to the floor anyway, but
it's got to be secured in a fashion to prevent displacement. And you're absolutely right, Rick. You got to figure out what kind of things are going to create a problem in there. So when it comes to the taking precautions area, we've got pictures of basic drill presses that need to be strapped to the floor, shelving that is bent, shelving that needs to be mounted to the floor and secured. Well, let me start out with the picture in the bottom portion of it on the far left side bottom row. You'll see, if you can see that picture, there's strapping at the top of that shelving. If you've got narrow shelves like that in the back, you want to strap those things at the top so that they're locked and loaded and that they can have some sort of security.
Yeah, let me tell you, I worked in Northridge at the time of the Northridge earthquake. Of course, it was early in the morning, so I was at home when it struck, but when I did get back to the office, we had shelving like that was not secured, and literally they all fell over like dominoes. I mean, once one fell, it just toppled the whole thing, and it was just a disaster.
Yeah, that would be absolutely terrible, let me just tell you. Absolutely terrible.
Look at the bent shelving, Michael.
Your forklift drivers are probably not very good if you got shelving like that. You got to make sure you're watching your shelving. If the shelving is bent, I'm telling you, the structural integrity of that is damaged and limited, and so you will have times where shelving can collapse. And I think Rick's got some video or some pictures of that as we're going to watch in a few minutes here. But you've got to make sure things in the back can withstand the shelving. Now, a few minutes ago we were talking about safe spots. Remember, the safe zones may not be right in front of that picture of the textile where all those packages of clothes are. Those have a tendency to shift and clothes fall out and whatnot. And the safe zones have to be done that they are not there, that you've got to be able to get rid of those and move those out, because the reality of it is safe zones may not be in the warehouse. You got to make that clear, which are dangerous areas. All right.
Exactly.
Moving to the next here. Now, the next one is to take precautions things again. You're going to see, I know you're looking at this picture thinking, whose place ever looks like that? And I'm telling you, you know your place looks like that sometimes. It always happens. Now, this is not a picture of our client, but we thought we found this on the internet. We thought we'd show it to you because it really shows that in the event of an earthquake, this is a problem. You don't even need a big tremor, and these people back here very well could be trapped and locked and loaded. The shelving let's say the shelving is secured to the floor, but the way everything is packaged, somebody could get trapped back there, and it would be very difficult to find them buried in those boxes. And you've got to be very, very sure of who's working that day, taking roll call when you get to the meeting spot, and making sure your aisleways and your loads are secured and looking good. The other thing that you'll find here, and this is a wonderful video that Rick put on there for you, this video is going to show us what one little forklift can do when it falls. Now, this is not an earthquake, but this very well could have been an earthquake, because you can see this forklift as it's backing up right now just hits one corner. And if the whole thing falls down on you and creates a chain reaction, this is really what we're afraid of happening. So it may seem extreme to you that this kind of thing takes place, and you may have seen this video before and just think, man, that is a bad day. But just to stay on this video for a little longer, you'll see there's a gentleman across the top who's now going across the material. The rubble, thank you, Rick, to dig you out of this. Now, do you want to be the digger or the guy under? Of course you want to be the digger, but now the buddies are coming. They're like, let's go, we got to get you out. But now we're not even sure how many employees were there. We did see 2 forklifts, but were there 3 employees there? 4 employees there? This is a real scenario when it comes to... Are they even still alive? And so the earthquake's taking place. You have aftershocks happening. You really need to have a count on how many people are working for you that day and where people are, if they're working in the warehouse, and where we're meeting. Because of this kind of a thing, you could have somebody piled under there that needs some more help that is very, very dangerous. So there you go on that. Let me say, if you are one of the very, very few people that we've invited to this webinar that are not clients of ours, let me tell you, we do a free workplace assessment. Come out and do a free evaluation of your safety out there on the job and just tell you our thoughts. If you need anything, let us know. We would be glad to help you at any time. The next thing we want to say is we're ready for trivia question time. Rick, these people have waiting hard. They've followed the lesson, and they're ready for their question. Now, I'm going to give you a tip before you get into this. The tip to the question is this. It was not in the webinar.
It was not in the
You
webinar.
may have to Google this on your phone.
Someone may have to Google this, or hopefully somebody already knows it.
You may know.
We're going to ask the question here, and somebody is going to win themselves a Green Mountain Grill smoker. So here is the great question.
You know, I do love this smoker, Rick. Not to delay the process any, but I do love this damnable smoker. Let me tell you, the ribs, the chicken, everything that you got, the jerky, you just love it to death. Men, you love it. Women, you love it. And your husbands will love it.
On with the question.
All right, here we go, Rick. Here we go. We're ready.
Here we
Rick,
go.
the question is what, Rick?
The question is, in what month and year did the Northridge earthquake occur?
Holy mackerel. What month and year did the Northridge earthquake occur? My heavens.
First person to call, 800-734-3574 with the right answer wins a Green Mountain Grill smoker, Michael.
Now, this is a value of almost $500 that we're sending you with the Green Mountain Grill smoker. This thing will go down from 150 if you're going to smoke some jerky all the way up to 550 degrees to sear a flaming yawn. So
we're going to send you a bag of pellets to go with it.
There you go. You get the pellets, you get the smoker, and you get to have, my phones are ringing right now, Rick, you get this great ability to be part of the smoking club. Now, for those of you out there who have won the smokers, and you may be listening to the webinar again, we demand, in fact, we insist that you send us some pictures of your fantastic meat that we may be able to show here and to put on play, because we just find this to be so wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Yes, we do.
Rick, by the way, in a few minutes we are going to start taking questions. Our people,
yes.
Now I don't want you to send me the answer to the question on the text string. That is nothing.
Line 10.
All right, line 10.
Looks like we have a winner here, hopefully, or we have a contestant. Line 10.
Line 10, here we go.
They're all lit up.
This is Michael.
Hi, Michael. John, how are you?
I'm alive and well, John. Where are you calling from, John?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little.
Not a problem. Where are you calling from?
Surface Pumps in Bakersfield, California?
We love surface pumps. John, what is the answer to the question? Not a problem. We're talking about the Northridge earthquake. What month and year did that take place?
January 94.
January 1994.
Let's see.
Let me tell you, he is absolutely correct. Congratulations, my friend. I'm going to put you on hold, and my assistant, the beautiful, wonderful Lori McFate, is going to take your call, and she's going to get your address and send that to you. Okay, my friend?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, so we got a winner. January of 1994.
Rick, winner, smoking dinner.
The day that we had that earthquake. So we are on to the questions and answers portion here. If you've got questions, go ahead and send them in. Just so you know, in our new location here, we have actually increased the power of our internet.
We were down to like 2020 back in California, and we still have that, obviously. But here we're up to 100 over 100. We're very excited about the internet.
So we're talking about the upload and download speed. Therefore, the delay should be less. Now, of course, I'm seeing some comments. Some people are still having difficulty viewing, and of course what we can't control is the bandwidth at your location.
Yeah, your bandwidth may not be good. Rick, does the bandwidth on our end make us look any prettier, Rick?
Well, I'm hoping so. We need all the help we can get. But the if you are having issues, the replay recording always comes out in good quality, so you can watch the replay. We apologize if you are having issues, but it appears that most of the people are doing all right with it. But let's see if we have some questions. We did have some people answer here via the chat, but unfortunately, to win, you have to call.
You got to call in. I'm sorry.
You got to call.
You know, Rick, we need to make that clear next time that you got to call. I thought the number was clear.
Was there, and
I know, but just a reminder
call,
so they don't give away the answer.
Know.
You know what do you do? All right.
What do you do?
Rick, you got some questions for us that we can. These people are dying to get back to work. I know they're all scared of it.
Let's take a look here. All right.
By the way, Rick, how old were you back in '94 when the earthquake took place?
Oh my gosh, in '94 I was about 32 years old.
You were a young buck, weren't you, Rick?
I actually remember the '71 earthquake as well.
Do you? Do you? Yes, my parents lived in Sylmar at the time.
All right, let's see here.
I don't think I was born in '71.
Well, I know. What can I tell you?
I know. We're all young, Rick.
Okay, we have some comments, but as of now, I don't
What
see
questions
any
would you
action.
ask? What
There
questions
probably
would-
really aren't a
No,
whole
but
lot
it's
of
not like-
questions.
Are any of the comments good, Rick?
Well,
Probably
some
not.
people are asking if we can send copies of the slides.
Oh, yes, we can send
If you
copies.
send me an email, rick@eeap.net, I'll be happy to send that out to you. Other than that,
All right.
I don't see any questions.
Let
so
me just
Michael,
finish up by saying this. When you do your drills, you got to make sure you train your people where to go in the event, the safe zones during the earthquake and after the earthquake. That is the only thing that I would recommend and say different. There are differences between safe zones during and safe zones after the earthquake. During the earthquake, as close as possibly, it's under a desk or in a certain area. After the earthquake's over, you may be further away. You got to get out of the building or something like that. So make sure you're with that. Teach every employee or the department where they are, and I hope that we don't have an earthquake anytime soon. My gosh, knock on wood. But living in California, you know it's coming. They
Gotta be
always
prepared.
call about the big one that's going to happen.
Yep.
Please be prepared. At home in your personal life, don't forget to get some water storage. Even if it's a case of water in there, you'll find you'll be drinking water out of the tank of your toilet because there's no water to your house. Be prepared. Go onto the internet. Think about earthquake safety. I know in your gut you're knowing what I'm saying is true. Please do it, do it, do it, do it. Rick, anything else, sir?
Just want to thank you folks that support us and watching these webinars. We hope you guys are finding this to be valuable training, and we really appreciate your support and all you do with working with us here at EEAP.
I really do. We really appreciate your business, and we know you come to these webinars because we're the most good-looking people in the world, and I want you to know we're grateful for that. So here we are. We will see you next month, and thank you, and enjoy your smoker, my friend.
Thanks again, and stay safe.
Thanks.